Algebra 2, Lesson 3-3. The graph of f of x equals x squared plus 6x is shown. Use the graph to determine how many real solutions the following equations have. X squared plus 6x plus 6 equals 0. X squared plus 6x plus 9 equals 0. And x squared plus 6x plus 12 equals 0. Alright, so we're going to take this x squared plus 6x plus 6 equals 0, and we're going to subtract 6 from both sides. And that's going to give us x squared plus 6x equals negative 6. So let's just graph that. Negative 4, that should be negative, a little too low. Negative 6. There's negative 6. So if you'll notice, it's going to have two solutions. The second equation, x squared plus 6x, and we're going to subtract 9 from both sides, and we get negative 9. Well, where's that at? A little too high. And here there is one solution right there. So that has one solution. This has two solutions. And let's try this last one here. X squared. We're going to subtract 12 from both sides. We get x squared plus 6x equals negative 12. So let's draw us a line on negative 12. And you'll notice it does not touch the graph at all, so there are 0 solutions. Cool? So I guess what they're trying to say is when you have a quadratic equation, you can have 0, 1, or 2 real solutions. And we're talking about real solutions. Real solutions. Number 2. And this is going to be kind of like before. That is shown, and then we got, so we're going to add 3 to both sides, and we'll find out where that is. And that's a little low. That's closer. So we added 3 to both sides, and we got negative 1/2 x squared plus 3x equals 3. And you notice it crosses here and it crosses there. So we have 2 real solutions. And let's try this next one here. Alright, so we're going to add 9/2 to both sides. We got negative 1/2 x squared plus 3x equals 9/2. Well, let's see, that's going to be like 4.5. 9/2 is about 4.5, so let's go here. A little high. Still a little high. There we go. And you'll notice we have one solution right here. So we have one real solution. Let's try this one here. We're going to add 6 to both sides, and we get negative 1/2 x squared plus 3x equals 6. And up here and graph a line on y equals 6. And we get no real solutions. Or 0 real solutions, however you want to say it. Number 3. Solve the equation by completing the square. State whether the solutions are real or not. So we're going to solve by completing the square. First, we want to subtract 1 from both sides, and we got x squared plus 4x equals negative 1. All right. Next, we're going to add b over 2 squared to both sides. B over 2 squared. Well, what is b? b is 4. Okay? 4. So 4 divided by 2 is 2, and then 2 squared is 4. So we're going to end up adding 4 to both sides. Then we are going to b divided by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2, so we're going to have x plus, well, let me do it like this. b over 2 squared equals, and that's going to give us 3. b over 2, that would be 4 divided by 2, which is 2. Okay. Next, we're going to take the square root of both sides. And we're going to get x plus 2 equals plus or minus the square root of 3. Then we're going to subtract 2 from both sides. And we got x equals negative 2 plus the square root of 3. And x equals negative 2 minus the square root of 3. And here we have 2 real solutions. 2 real solutions. All right? I'm going to start my calculator here real quick. My graphing calculator. We'll go back. Now let's try number 4. Go back. Oh, there it is, number 4. So we got x squared. We're going to subtract 8 from both sides, and we got x squared plus 2x equals negative 8. I guess that's ready now. Maybe not. We're going to add b over 2 squared to both sides. Okay, and that's going to give us x squared plus 2x plus, and then we got 2 divided by 2 is 1, and then 1 squared is 1. Negative 8 plus 1. Then we're going to do x plus, and then we're going to put b b over 2, b over 2, that's going to give you negative 7. Well, b is 2, 2 divided by 2 is 1, so we're going to put a 1 in here. Okay, take the square root of both sides. And we've got x plus 1 equals plus or minus the square root of -7. Well, the square root of -7, that equals the square root of -1 times the square root of 7. The square root of -1 is I, so we're going to make this I times the square root of 7. Subtract 1 from both sides, and you got x equals -1 plus I times the square root of 7, and x equals -1 minus I times the square root of 7. So we have two non-real solutions. So, all right, now I'm going to go to that calculator and I'm going to graph that and let you see what it looks like. On graph, we got x squared plus 4x plus 1. And see how it crosses the x-axis? Right here and right there. What did we get before? We've got -2 minus the square root of 3. So we got -2 minus the square root of 3. And that gives you -3.73. -3.7, and then -2 plus the square root of 3. And that's going to give you basically -1/4. So if you go back to your graph, see, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's almost, and then if you menu 6, 1, you'll see that's -2.68. Menu 6, 1, and -3.73. -3.73, -2.67, -2.68, rounded up. So that's what that looks like. On, new, old, on, new, graph. Let's try the other one. And that was x squared. X squared plus 2x plus 8. And remember, this one had two non-real solutions. Well, oh, there it is. It's way up there. See how it doesn't cross the x-axis? So it doesn't have a real solution. Well, let's move on to number 5. Okay, what do we do here? What would be our first step? Well, let's rewrite it. X squared minus 5x equals -20. To complete the square, we're going to add b over 2 squared to both sides. Okay. And b is 5, -5. So it's going to be -5 over 2. So we got -5 over 2 and squared. This calculator is slowing me down. Let's get rid of it. -5, and so that's going to be, well, -5 times -5 is 25, and 4 times, or 2 times 2 is 4. So we're going to be adding 25 over 4 plus 25 over 4 to both sides. plus 25 over 4. And now we got x, and then you notice how that's a minus, so we're going to have minus, and this negative 20, we got force over here, so that's going to be negative 80 over 4 plus 25 over 4. And here we're going to have b over 2. b is 5, so we're going to put a 5 in there. It's going to be negative 5 over 2, and that's squared. Okay? Negative 80 plus 25, that's going to be negative 55 over 4. So this is going to equal negative 55 over 4. And we've got x minus 5 halves squared. So we're going to take the square root of both sides. And that's going to give us x minus 5 halves equals plus or minus, and we have the square root of 55 over 4, and that's negative. Okay. Well, if we add it to both sides, we need to work on that a little bit. And we got negative, so that's going to give me I, square root of 55. There's no perfect squares in 55. And the square root of 4 is 2. All right, so now we'll add 5 halves to both sides. And we got x equals 5 halves. And sometimes you'll see it written as plus or minus I times the square root of 55 over 2. Now, that means that is the same as x equals 5 halves plus I times the square root of 55 over 2, and x equals 5 halves minus I times the square root of 55 over 2. And this is going to be 2 non-real solutions. Now I want to check and make sure I put it at the bottom of this here. I did. All right, good. Let's try number 6. Number 6 is a little bit different, okay? Because we got a 5 here to begin, so we're going to divide everything by 5. And that's going to give us x squared minus 6 over 5x equals 8/5. And then what do we got here? 6/5. If we go to our calculator, 6/5 is the same as 1.2. We got 1.2x. And 8/5 is the same as 1.6. We're going to add b over 2 squared. And that's going to give us x squared minus 1.2x, and then 1.2 divided by 2 squared, that's going to give us plus 0.36. That's going to be 1.6 plus 0.36. So half of 1.2 is 0.6. We've got x minus 0.6, and that's squared equals, and that's going to be 1.96. And we'll take the square root of both sides. And that's going to give us x x minus 0.6 equals plus or minus 1.4. Add 0.6 and you got x equals 0.6 plus 1.4, which is 2, and x equals 0.6 minus 1.4, which is negative 0.8. So we have two real solutions. This has two real solutions. All right. And let's try number 7. Again, we're going to have to divide by 7. And we get x squared plus 13 over 7x equals 5 over 7. And then we're going to add b over 2 squared. And I don't have my calculator started. It's going to be x. I'm going to show you what it's going to look like. We got x squared plus 13 calculator. Let's see here. We got control, divide, and then up here control, divide. We've got 13 over 7, and then we're going to divide that by 2, and then we're going to square it. Oh, shoot. Over 14 squared. Okay. So we got 13 over 7 x plus, and that's 13 over 7 over 2 squared. That's going to be 5/7 plus, and then what did that turn out to be? 169 over 196. So this is going to be x plus, and 13 over 7 divided by 2 is 13 over 14. 13 over 14 squared equals, and then plus, we're going to plus, and that was 5 over 7. And that gives us 309 over 196. 309 over 196. We're going to take the square root of both sides. That's going to give us x plus 13 over 14 equals plus or minus the square root of 309 over 196. Now I'm going to go in here, let's see, I'm going to take the square root of 196. I think it's 14. It is. So I have x plus 13 over 14 equals plus or minus the square root of 309, there's not a perfect square in there, 309 over 14. So I'm going to subtract 13/14 from each side, and I got negative 13 over 14 plus or minus the square root of 309 over 14, and that is 2 real solutions. 2 real solutions. Now let's try number 8. Let's add 11 to both sides. You got negative x. Well, first I'm going to multiply everything by negative. And that's going to give me x squared plus 6x plus 11 equals 0. Now I'm going to subtract 11 from both sides, and I got x squared plus 6x equals negative 11. Add b over 2 squared. Okay, and well, b is 6. 6 over 2 is 3. 6 divided by 2 is 3, and 3 squared is 9. So I got x squared plus 6x plus 9 equals, well, negative 11 plus 9 is going to give me, well, negative 2. All right. Half of 6 is 3, so I got x plus 3, and that's squared, equals negative 2. Take the square root of both sides, and I got x plus 3 equals plus or minus the square root of negative 2. Subtract 3 from both sides, I got x equals negative 3 plus or minus, I got a negative 1 in there, I times the square root of 2. And that's going to be 2 non-real solutions. Looking good. Without solving the equation, state the number of solutions and whether they are real or not. Okay? And there is an easy way to do it. The discriminant. Okay, remember you got, what is that thing called? X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared. Let me do that in a different color. B squared minus 4ac, and all of that is over 2a. Okay. So this b squared minus 4ac, that is called the discriminant. B squared minus 4ac. B squared, that's going to be 4 squared minus 4 times a, that's going to be negative 16 times 13. All right, that's it. 16 plus, and I get 832. So I got A48. Okay, and since this is positive, we're going to get 2 real solutions. 2 real solutions. Remember this is the quadratic formula. That's the quadratic formula. Now let's try this one here. B squared minus 4ac. So we got negative 11 squared minus 4 times 7 times 10. That's going to give 11 squared is, well, that's 121 minus 4 times 7 is 28 times 280. And that's going to give me a negative 159. And because the discriminant is negative, we're going to get 2 non-real solutions. Okay, there's a pattern. If it's positive, you get 2 real solutions. If it's negative, you get 2 non-real solutions. And, well, the other choice is 0. And if you get 0, there is 1 real solution. So here, we're going to have to subtract 1 from both sides. So that's going to be negative x squared minus 2 x minus 1 equals 0. Now we can do the discriminant. B squared minus 4ac. We're going to have negative 2 squared minus 4 times negative 1 times negative 1. So we're going to get 4 over 25 minus, well, negative 4 times, that's going to be positive 4, that's going to be negative 4 minus 4. Let's see, 4, that's the same as 100 over 25. That's going to give you negative 96 over 25. So it is negative. We have 2 non-real solutions. And let's go over here. We're going to subtract 12x from both sides. You got 4x squared minus 12x plus 9 equals 0. What do we do? Well, let's see. B squared minus 4ac. B squared, that's going to be negative 12 squared minus 4 times 4 times 9, 144 minus 4 times 4 is 16 times 144, so we get 0. Okay, can you do this in the calculator? You can. Let's try number 12. New document, no, graphs. So if there is one real solution, it should set on the line. We got 4x squared, and that's minus 12x plus 9. And see how it just sits on the one solution, it just sits on the x-axis. All right. Any more? Yes. A gardener answer the question by writing the equation, determine whether the solutions of the equation are real or non-real. Don't necessarily have to solve it, but anywho. All right. A gardener has 140 feet of fencing to put around a rectangular vegetable garden. The function a of w equals 70w minus w squared. Gives the gardener's area in square feet, freeing with w in feet. Does the gardener have enough fencing for the area of the garden to be 1,300 square feet? So let's write it out. We got, well, this 1,300, we got 1,300 equals 70w minus w squared. All right, we need to get it all on one side. So we got 0 equals 1,300 plus 70w plus w squared. Well, let's rewrite it in the correct form. So we got w squared plus 70. Oh, that was supposed to be minus. That's minus. So we got negative w squared plus 70w plus 1,300. Right? So let's do b squared minus 4ac. That's going to be 70 squared minus 4 times negative 1 times, well, remember we subtracted that from both sides, so that should be negative, of negative 1,300. All right, so that's going to 70, well, that's going to be 4,900. 7 squared is 49, and there minus, well, that's going to be Negative 4 times negative 1 is positive 4 times 1,300. Negative 13, that's going to make that negative 5,200. So I'm thinking negative 300 is the answer. So since the discriminant is negative, we have two non-real solutions. So the gardener does not have enough fencing. The gardener does not have enough fencing. Let's try number 14 here. A golf ball is hit with an initial velocity of 64 feet a second. The function h of t equals negative 16t squared plus 64t models the height h in feet of the golf ball at a time t in seconds. Does the golf ball reach a height of 60 feet? Well, let's see. We got negative 16t squared plus 64t equals 60. All right, let's subtract 60 from both sides, and we got negative 16t squared plus 64t minus 60 equals 0. And let's try the discriminant. B squared minus 4ac. B, that's going to be 64 squared hold on, we got 16t squared. Okay, 64 squared minus, and we got 4 times a, that's negative 16, times c, which is negative 60. So let's see here. 64 squared, that's 4,096, 4096. We got negative and the negative, that's positive, that's going to be negative. And then, so we got 4 times 16 times 60. 4 times 16 times 60. That's 3840. 3840. So we're going to have a positive, discriminant. So the golf ball does reach a height. Golf ball does reach a height of 60 feet. All right, good. Great job, folks. I hope you have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you in class tomorrow. Bye.